Well, we're back, folks. It's been a long break, but it's good to be back in the seat. We're going to start ramping up shows here. We have a lot of guests on deck. Today we have Lou Barletta. Lou Barletta is the candidate for Pennsylvania governor. He's a busy guy. He's traveling all over the state. So we're grateful that he took a break and was able to come in and talk to us for a few minutes. Let's see how today goes. I think it'll be an interesting conversation. Here's Lou. So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Running statewide sounds like a good idea until you get in your car.
Until you start doing, well, a county-wide race for me was crazy. So I can't even imagine statewide, and I just can't.
Well, this is my second time around, so I know where all the good diners are as we're traveling.
Well, God bless you. It's a lot of work, but we need good people, so that's what it has to be. But why are you doing it?
I didn't think I was going to do this again. After the last Senate run, I had a long political career that wasn't boring, to say the least. 11 years as mayor, and during that time I was thrust into a national issue, fighting illegal immigration, and then went on to Congress and spent 8 years there, and then ran statewide for the United States Senate. Finally had an opportunity to enjoy my family. I have 10 grandkids, 4 daughters, and actually saw what life was like outside the fishbowl.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened. And I just watched how Governor Wolf totally mismanaged the pandemic, literally destroying people's lives by shutting their businesses down. There was really no common sense in how it was happening. And, being a former businessman, my wife and I had started our own business, and I know how difficult it is for anyone that's in business to watch their livelihoods being taken away. Like, what gives one man this kind of power to pick and choose whose business had to shut down? And those employees, many of them, didn't find a job again. And it made no sense to me. Then I watched him steal a year's education away from our children. Again, when science didn't back it up, and we still don't know the long-term effects of that. I mean, just reading some of the statistics of some of the children that have committed suicide or dealing with mental health issues from it. And then if that wasn't enough, then he's put COVID-positive seniors back in a nursing home when we knew seniors were our most vulnerable people.
Right out of the gate, we knew that.
And 50% of our deaths here in Pennsylvania came from that. So I found myself screaming at the TV every night. My wife, seeing a problem here, said, we are not going to live the rest of our lives like this. You make a decision, either shut the darn TV off or get off your butt and do something. Yeah. And I realized, Chris, I had, 14 good reasons to do it. I have 10 grandkids and 4 daughters.
Darn right. Well, and like you said, so being a congressman and being the mayor, you already have an advantage with name recognition and name ID throughout the country, but let alone just Pennsylvania itself. Yeah. But you think that obviously has to help.
It's a tremendous advantage. I found that out, running statewide for the first time in Pennsylvania, how big Pennsylvania is and how difficult it is to get statewide name ID. I was in Congress for 8 years. During that time, I was in 2 different media markets, the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton media market and the Harrisburg media market, which covers a good part of Pennsylvania. And even with that, I found that it was difficult to have that ID where people know who you are statewide. Yeah. So doing it in 2018, spending the money, it cost us $8 million to have the ID, name ID that I have now. The other candidates have to start from scratch, and that's a tough job. They're going to find out that running across Pennsylvania for the first time is not that easy. And I look back at history. Arlen Specter, for example, first time he ran statewide in Pennsylvania, he lost. Pat Toomey was the same. Governor Casey, again, that was the same. So sometimes you have to run once to get that ID to set yourself up. So, and again, my time as mayor, having, some recognition from the illegal immigration battle.
Yep.
And the polls now, we just saw another poll that came out today, again, has me in front.
Right.
And I think that's, part of the reason people know who I am. I have a record. They're familiar with me. It's a familiar face. I think we have 1,050 people running for governor right now. So, having that person, makes a difference.
Oh, big time. So, and then the other side of that is, I'm looking at what's Pennsylvania going to look like? It's like a two-part question, but what's Pennsylvania going to look like under Josh Shapiro versus under Lou Barletta?
Well, we know what it'll look like under Josh Shapiro. It'll be a third term of Tom Wolf. And if you like what Wolf is doing, then you'll love Josh Shapiro, because I think it'll be Wolf on steroids. There'll literally be no firewall between Washington, Joe Biden, and Pennsylvania, and the people of Pennsylvania. The crazy ideas that are coming out of Washington will be thrown right on us. I mean, just take a look at the ghost flights that have been happening here in Pennsylvania. Where was Shapiro? Where was Wolf to stop it, protect the people of Pennsylvania? It was nothing. Crickets.
Yeah.
And it was like, not our fault. We can't do anything. Under Lou Barletta, it's going to be like Florida without the beaches and sunshine and 80 degrees every day. We're going to get our freedom back. I'm going to give the people of Pennsylvania their freedom back. We're going to bring common sense. I mean, listen, we all agree. We know how to get the economy going. Let's lower our taxes. We have the highest taxes in the country. We're going to take Pennsylvania out of RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, so we can open up our natural gas to the world. Just look at what's happening in Ukraine. Pennsylvania is the answer.
Yeah.
We're going to do all that, but it's just, the mandates, the mask mandates, the vaccine mandates, and people just are watching literally government take control of their lives. And, we're going to make sure we're going to protect young women's privacy. We're going to protect women's sports. I mean, as a father of 4 daughters, the things that I see as happening in our schools is not going to be the way Pennsylvania is going to treat young women. So you're going to see a whole different attitude. We're going to respect our law and order, or the men and women in our communities that put their lives on the line every day. We're going to make sure they have what they need. I always talk about our veterans.
Yeah.
Any soldier that slept on a desert in Afghanistan will never sleep under a bridge here in Pennsylvania when I'm governor. And we're going to open up the curriculum at school. I signed the 1776 pledge, which basically is a pledge to the people of Pennsylvania that you're going to see what is being taught to your kids. You're going to have an opportunity to see that, and we will never teach critical race theory to our children when I'm governor.
Okay, well, you just hit on every one of my notes, so we'll break them down a little bit.
Sure.
Let's bounce back to, oh boy, we could talk for hours on how the my own daughter she's a senior in high school now.
Yep.
I mean, they're all struggling. That was a nightmare what went on. They're finally starting to get back a little bit, but it's hard, especially a senior year and want to go on to college. So that we need to get.
And Chris, so I put together an advisory board. I found thought leaders from all around Pennsylvania who want to serve in some capacity on different issues. Our education panel advisory board is fantastic. And we go a step further. I mentioned earlier that they stole a year's education from our children. Well, we can't just move on and turn the page. I want to see how they make that year up to our children. We shouldn't just be okay that they've had that year education taken from them.
No.
I mean, those children deserve that year back somehow. I want to see a curriculum that can show me how we make up that learning loss of that 1 year. They should not be at a disadvantage because governors wanted to act like dictators.
Yeah. Well, we got to get on that. You mentioned borders, and we have the border crisis going on right now. We have people coming across. I don't even know. It's not just South America folks coming through. Now I'm sure we have people from all over the world coming across the border. It's wide open.
Over 140 some countries they're coming from. We have no idea who's in our country. I served on the Homeland Security Committee. It was, served on the Counterterrorism and Intelligence Subcommittee. And we would get briefings where we know that terrorists were trying to use the southern border to get into our country. Why would they not? When Biden and the Democrats literally just opened the borders, millions of people just crossing who we have no way of identifying. Listen, when they tell you they're giving people a background test screening, that is ridiculous. When people come here legally, they don't get a background test. They get a background investigation. They literally investigate and go back to your country of origin to check out, to make sure the things you're saying are true. They're not doing that with the millions of people that are coming across.
No.
They could give any name and away they go. And then to have, if that's not bad enough, to have people put on planes and sent in the middle of the night into Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And our governor and Josh Shapiro are okay with that. I don't know if we want more of this. But that's what's on the line in this next election.
Well, that's what's going on here. They're sneaking them under the cloak of darkness. And then you hear all kinds of stories. I'm sure some of them are true and some of them probably might not be. But for the most part, I believe what was going on. I hear, well, they get off the bus. They hand them a duffel bag with a new name, new identification, maybe some money and some clothes. And they put them on a bus and ship them to God knows where. God knows where.
How about the minors that then show up in our schools?
Yep.
What kind of medical screenings do we really have? Every Pennsylvania child under Pennsylvania law has to have vaccines. Polio, hepatitis, chickenpox. I mean, all those vaccines are required by law. Are we okay that we're just taking, minors from any other countries and just going to stick them back in the classroom with no idea whether or not they have the same vaccines that are required on our children? I mean, how is this okay?
It's not okay. It's not okay. And I don't even want to go this direction, but I hate to even bring it up, but if President Trump did it, it'd be a war.
Oh, no.
If he was doing this stuff.
No question. No question.
So why is it okay for this administration to do it, but not a different one? Not good. But those flights coming into Allentown, Binghamton, I mean, I don't know where they're going. They can zip these people in and out in minutes.
So we've had some of them followed. Actually, after they left Wilkes-Barre, then they moved them to Allentown. We know the one bus, for example, passengers got off, duffel bags were given to them, the whole 9 yards, as you explained. They got on a bus. They went through Philadelphia, went into New Jersey, stopped at a visitor center. They got out of the bus. There were cars with license plates from Maryland, Washington, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York. They got in the cars and the cars went.
Yeah. Yep.
Who were these people? Where are they going?
Yeah.
And how were these arrangements made? Then they moved over to the Harrisburg airport, where again the bus was followed. They were taken to Clearfield County. These passengers to a detention center, United States Immigration and Customs detention center. Again, the question is, what happens to them then? Are they left into our community? Are they waiting a hearing? Are they being held? What is their criminal background?
Right.
I mean,
well, and this is what went on in your town of Hazelton
and
years
I was
ago.
the first to stand up in the country and do something about it and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And that's what you're going to get. When Lou Barletta becomes governor, is enough is enough. I'm going to stand up for the people here in Pennsylvania. I've been road tested. You're not going to have to wonder whether or not I have the courage or backbone to do the things that we're talking about today. And that's the whole reason why I'm running.
Yep. And that's what it's going to take to beat Josh Shapiro coming up. We've already talked about a few things, but what else makes you the better candidate?
Experience. I think experience matters. Mary Grace and I, my wife and I, we started a small business from nothing and literally grew it to be the 6th largest in the country. And having that experience of actually signing the front of a check, months and months, ourselves not taking a pay because we had to make sure our employees were paid and taken care of. You learn a lot, when you're in the private sector. And then I was mayor, actually governed, actually have experience in governing, which is a big deal. Many of the candidates that I'm running against are all good people. And I think they all check a box. Right. But some of them haven't held an office. Some of them haven't run in any campaigns at all. And I may be the only one who's actually governed at an executive level in running a city. And apparently some people thought I did a good job. I was named Pennsylvania Mayor of the Year by my peers across Pennsylvania, mayors from across Pennsylvania. And then going on to Congress and serving in the legislative side, I think having all of that experience makes a difference. That you're going to get a governor who you're not going to have to guess what I'm going to do. I have a record. Right. Anybody that is wondering, how I feel on issues or they can check my record. I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment. I have a voting record, 100% voting record for it. I'm not shy to say where I stand on issues. Where I stand on illegal immigration. I'm a small businessman. I still believe in capitalism. I'm very proud American and very proud of Pennsylvania. So people know what they're going to get. You're not guessing, that in hopes that somebody who you didn't really know very well does the things that they say they're gonna do on a TV commercial.
Another thing you mentioned earlier too, law and order. That was a big one on my list here. Supporting our police. Crime is on the rise in our cities. All over the state, all over the country. How can we fix that? Well,
I know how we can't, and that would be elect Josh Shapiro, who's in charge now. So if you like Philadelphia, and you think it's a nice, safe place to go, then that's probably who you're going to want, because that crime and those gangs are going to be soon moving across Pennsylvania. Right. What was done, it was, the whole time of the riots and defund the police and burning police cars and tearing down statues, where there was nobody standing with our law enforcement. Governor Wolf, as a matter of fact, Chris, marched with Black Lives Matter and a Black Lives Matter protest, who were holding up signs, Blue Lives Murder.
Right. I remember.
I mean, what kind of message does that send to people, that want, and why would you get in the profession of law enforcement when you have a governors that won't stand with you? Sanctuary cities, another example. You're inviting people who are in the country illegally. If you were a criminal alien who, was involved in drug dealing, where would you go? So you're going to get the complete opposite of Josh Shapiro. You're going to get a governor who stands with its law enforcement and gives them all the tools that they need to keep our communities safe.
Yeah. And, people don't think about that here, just locally here in the city of Scranton and locally. We have a strong police presence. We don't have a lot of crime, even though it's picking up a little bit. And I don't think people realize how quickly that can change. And if you have, you get a liberal governor in here, all bets are off.
Oh, I mean, that's where the drug cartel loves that. Yep. That's exactly what they want. They want to see weakness.
They do. And the first thing that happens is the funding gets cut. Exactly. That's where it starts.
Yep, exactly right.
Well, that's probably the most important thing we need to make sure. Taxes. We talk about our property taxes here at Lackawanna County. They're hell-bent on doing this reassessment, which is 54 years since the last time it's been done here. It's a huge issue. I do realize it needs to be done. I understand. I'm not an idiot. I mean, sometimes my counterparts think I, don't have a clue, but they're wrong. But my concern with what we're trying to do here is, they're trying to push this reassessment through. I got folks in the hills of Archibald and you name it, all over the county. They've been in their houses for 50 years. They've never had a reassessment. These people are living, some of them live on $11,000, $12,000 a year. Well, they're the ones their taxes are going up. And they're afraid they're going to lose their home. So, my problem with pushing this too quickly is we have no plan in place. You gotta, I have to have a plan. No, I need to know what I was doing today, tomorrow. I have a plan, but moving forward with our reassessment, I want to make sure that we have something in place to take care of these folks so they don't lose their homes. How are we going to help them? And the other big thing is, are we going to do another? When's the next reassessment? Like, is it going to be 50 years from now, or are we going to put something in place where it's going to be a rolling reassessment where things happen if you sell a house or a building or whatever, it gets reassessed. But I need plans before I can push that forward, which leads me into a statewide issue here is school taxes.
Sure.
We're funding our schools on the backs of the property owners. The math doesn't work anymore that way. Years ago when I was in school and before, schools were little buildings. The teachers didn't make a lot of money. There wasn't a huge administration. We're kind of top heavy on that now, and everybody's a specialist. So there are, there's good paying jobs, which there should be.
Right.
But you have multi-million-dollar facilities, and it goes on and on and on. Well, we can't fund it this way anymore. So do you have any thoughts on how can we help? That's the biggest problem with property taxes, the school taxes.
Right.
How do we fix that?
There's no question about it. And again, the advisory board that I put together, that was one of the first tasks. I said, what do we do about property tax, school tax? And, it's funny. We get the same answer as everybody wants to do something about it. The problem is nothing gets done about it because it's not that easy to fix.
No, it's not.
It's not that easy to fix. You have the schools that want to count on that reoccurring revenue. They want to do a budget and have an idea based on what their taxes, their revenues coming in. And again, the property owners who say, hey, this isn't fair. This is not a fair way to tax us. And then you have a government that says, okay, we take the property tax away. We've got to replace it with some kind of revenue generator.
Yep.
And that's where the problem becomes is you have, the three-legged stool of how do you do it. So again, this is one of the things that we're putting a group together and say, let's go. Let's really take a good shot at fixing this. Property owners, the taxpayers want relief. Mm-hmm. We got to look at the schools and how do you fund them?
Well, we've got to look at what other states are doing.
And look at what other states are doing.
Some other states have this figured out already.
Right, exactly.
So the election, we have the election coming up now. And, the big concern for a lot of folks are mail-in ballots. It looks like it's most likely going to be that it's legal to do mail-in ballots. What are your thoughts there? I mean, I go downstairs to our election office. I already see there's boxes of applications.
Yeah.
Thousands.
It never should have happened in the first place. I think we all agree. Act 77, turned out to be a disaster. Was ripe for fraud. Especially in a presidential year, to do it for the first time in a presidential year.
Right.
When there was no chance of working out any of the kinks or the bugs, and we saw what happened. COVID was then used to totally blow it up, and all heck broke loose.
It was very simple. We have a system in place, absentee ballots. They could have made a special. If you didn't feel comfortable going into a polling place, you should be able to use an absentee, and COVID was the reason.
Yeah, that was used.
Very simple.
Why was it used? We know why it was used. To achieve the results that we saw. There was chaos. There was total chaos. So as a governor, I will repeal Act 77. I think it's too ripe for fraud, and there's no way to control it. Listen, in Pennsylvania, we know dead people we lived here. We know dead people have been voting a long time here in Pennsylvania.
Been going on for a long time.
Now they don't even have to leave the cemetery to vote. They can mail in their ballots. We want to make sure nobody gets hurt on the way to the polls.
Boy,
what is wrong with bringing integrity back to our elections? I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican.
No,
Who
doesn't matter.
should object to let's make sure our elections are fair? You go to Philadelphia, you want to get a cheesesteak, you better have your ID with you and your vaccination card.
Yeah.
But you don't need it to vote. Why should the bar be higher because I choose to go to the poll to vote where people can see me? They know who I am. I signed the book.
Yeah.
Because I took the effort to actually show up. The bar is going to be higher for me than for somebody who's at home. No ID. We have no idea if that person really is. We have no idea if they've harvested that ballot from somebody else. If they've paid them $5, I'll give you $5 for your ballot.
Exactly.
I mean, come on. It's common sense.
Yeah, and then I had a fight here of my own of drop boxes. I had video proof of somebody with handfuls of ballots, or handfuls of, I can't say ballots, but handfuls of something. There wasn't anything else in the box, so they had to be ballots. But, stuffing them in there. Well, whose were they? I know the DA did an investigation, and I thank him for that and for his efforts. And I knew that even if they found the guy, which they did, how are they going to prove it? They don't have the evidence if it's in there. But it is what it is. Yeah. They got it through. I don't agree with, everything that went on, but we're going to have to deal with this again coming up. We are.
And as I said, should I be elected governor, I'm going to repeal Act 77. I just think it's ripe for fraud.
Well, and that was my main concern with that whole thing is, what's the chances of a Republican winning with that, the ability to cheat the system and manipulate mail-ins? I mean, it's a huge hurdle. So, whenever I'm out, and I know when we're together, and a lot of the things I say to everyone is, you got to get your friends, your neighbors, your relatives. Yeah. Everybody has to vote. So many Republicans think that my vote doesn't count. What's the sense? Not going to win anyway. Well, we have to beat the system. We have to get out. If you're not going to go vote, do a mail-in.
Yeah.
Do a mail-in.
And you're right. I mean, that was a big consideration that I had to look at in deciding to run. I'm 66 years old. I'm not 30. Did I want to campaign for 2 years away from my family and then get cheated?
Yeah.
And not feel that the election was fair. And but then again, Chris, I look and say if I didn't and I give up, then they win.
Well, they do.
Let's not even have elections. Then let's not even have elections anymore. Let them just pick who they want because, we can't stop. And I believe there's so much wind at our back. The chaos that the Democrats have caused from the handling of COVID. I mean, if you look at the Democrat-run states, they're still struggling. Mm-hmm. The Republican governors, those states are doing much better. People are flocking to them. That's where people want to go. You look at what's happening in Washington. You look at the border. You look at Afghanistan. You look at Ukraine. You look at the supply chain. You look at the price of gas. You go to, I couldn't find chicken breasts. I went to the store. I couldn't find chicken breasts. Yeah. It's like, where are we? We're in America. Is this what you want? And I think even reasonable-minded Democrats who say we can't continue this. That party has been hijacked by environmentalist extremists who are now calling the shots. We've replaced our energy. We were exporting energy. We've now replaced it with Russian energy. We're buying, for goodness sakes, we're buying Russian oil.
Yeah, makes absolutely zero sense.
I believe most people I don't even know if the Democrats can cheat their way out of this.
Well,
I think that there's going to be a wave.
They got to wake up. Back just recently when I did my Senate run, we have in Lackawanna County, I'm going to estimate about 46,000 registered Republicans. Well, 13,000 came out and voted. Well, if your vote didn't count because you didn't go vote. And, I maybe could have gotten in there and been able to help with some of the problems. I'm good where I am as a commissioner, but I would have had a little more clout and a little more ability to do things for the same people that I represent right now.
People need to realize, and hopefully things have not hopefully, sadly, things have gotten so bad that people need to realize it matters who your school board member is. It matters who your state representative is. It matters who your commissioners are. It matters who your mayors and your supervisors are.
You're darn right.
It's not just the president of the United States or our governor. It matters who these people are. And until the American people take back their government from the bottom up, they're going to keep shoving this stuff down our throats. And I think people have had enough. I am one. Enough is enough.
Well, the supervisor level, the borough council people, the school board, that's the foundation of basically of a building. Well, if you don't have a good foundation, the building isn't going to stand.
It's where it affects you the most.
Yes,
they're making local decisions.
That's right.
And that's where it affects you the most.
That's right.
And that's why it matters.
So we have an issue in Ukraine. It's a disaster. You people worried about World War III starting. We have Russia doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. You have the worry about China, Taiwan. Everybody's watching what's going on. What are your thoughts there?
It's all caused by weakness. It's caused by weakness of America. America is the world's power. And when America's strong, these actors don't act up.
Right.
And they saw an opportunity of weakness firsthand. First of all, if you don't believe that they're not watching what's happening at our border,
you're darn right they are.
They know the American people want something done, and then you have a president and an administration that's just come on in. People see that. They see what's happening here at home. They see all of a sudden America's biggest asset is energy. When you can supply energy to other countries, they are dependent on you. You have leverage over these other nations because they need your energy.
Right.
And there you have, again, the Democrats saying, we don't want any fossil fuels. We don't want any natural gas. We don't want, oil and coal and all that dirty stuff. We'll let Russia produce it and China produce it, and they'll produce it worse. And they'll be worse for the environment, but we're not going to do it here. When you're China and you're Iran and you're Russia and you're these aggressive countries that are just waiting for this moment, that's why they're acting. That's why they're acting. If you think China is going to sit back and wait till the next president comes in and maybe it'll be a strong president,
they're not waiting.
They're not waiting.
They're not waiting. They're watching what's going on.
What's going on. You watch the way Biden messed up Afghanistan, leaving billions of equipment and Americans behind. Who does that? What kind of nation leaves their people behind, takes the planes and goes, takes your military out and leaves the people behind?
No sense.
That's why we're seeing what's happening in the Ukraine right now, where innocent people are being killed. American energy was replaced with Russian energy, and they see a weak leader. And that's why we don't need another Democrat governor.
No, we don't. We're sitting on one of the richest deposits of clean energy, of natural gas.
Right.
And it's, they don't want to even pursue it.
I joke, but it's not funny. Having all the natural gas that we have under our feet here in Pennsylvania and not building the pipelines to get it to market is like being in college and having a keg of beer without a tap.
Right.
What the hell good is it?
Right.
We have it here. We can supply the world. We can solve, and again, that brings national security for the people here in America, because countries will be dependent on us instead of sending billions of dollars to Russia, who are using that money to build up their military.
Well, and not only jobs. Come on. Yeah. There are good jobs, good paying jobs.
Right.
We could be. And where we are situated in this country, we're in the perfect spot. It makes no sense. Pennsylvania should be one of the top states in the country.
One of the wealthiest states.
Absolutely.
One of the wealthiest. And when a state's wealthy, you know who's wealthy? The people are better.
That's right. Well, I know you can make it happen. So let's just keep fighting the fight, and we keep telling people, get out and vote, and tell your friends to get out and vote, and your family and your neighbors. And, we got to make this happen. Don't sit back and say, there's nothing I can do. This is the time. We need to get out and make it happen. So I appreciate you coming and taking
Chris.
your time.
Thank you.
Traveling all through the state. So I wish you all the best.
Thanks.
And appreciate it.
Thanks
so
for
thank
having
you.
me on.
All right.
Thank you.
Great show today. I really appreciate Lou taking his time, coming in and having a conversation with us. A lot of issues here in Pennsylvania, a lot of things that we need to really pay attention to. So if you like this episode or any of the other episodes and you'd like to send a donation, that's greatly appreciated. This is all paid for by the Friends of Chris Chermak. So appreciate everybody listening. We'll see you next show.